I'm Karen Campbell, and I'm the author of a whole series of books called Whimsical Watercolor and How to Draw. This is book 2 of the series, and book 3, Wonky Woofers, uses the same supplies that I'm using in my Wacky Whiskers book. So at the time that I published my book back in 2025, I actually released a whole lesson that goes with this book that shows how to use the supplies that I'm teaching inside of the book in video format. But a lot of people, for some reason, are having trouble with the link to access that lesson. So I decided to just publish it here on my drawing YouTube channel. And that is what we're going to be looking at today. So I hope you'll draw with me step by step. The link to that tutorial is still available. It's in the book. I have free videos inside all of my books, 27 of them, that lead for more inspiration, more education, so you can kind of wrap your brain around what it is that I'm teaching inside each one. So without further ado, here is a grumpy, it's not Grumpy Gus, but it's a grumpy guy because I didn't have a name. So he is not inside of the book, but you can check out Wacky Whiskers for Cats and Wonky Woofers, which is actually my bestseller of this series, interestingly enough, if you want to do some cute little wacky dogs as well. Welcome to my actual studio table where I'm going to be going through my exact process of how I actually draw these easy characters from scratch. Okay, so following along with the book, I'm just going to go through all the supplies I use and also the order in which I use them, because that I think can be really helpful. Even though there's directions inside of the books on each page, I think it might be helpful to see them in action, especially when we go from the drawing part to the watercoloring part. So as I do the demo, and do it with me, come on and draw with me, guys. I will be demoing exactly how I use each of the supplies. So I'm doing a project where I'm going to be using all the ones that I use in the animal books, at least to date. So that's books 2 and 3 of the series. The Widow Women, I use slightly different supplies, and a lot of colored pencil, which I'm not using for these ones. Okay, so we're gonna draw a cat. We're gonna draw a grumpy Siamese because they're cute and adorable. So I always start with a mechanical pencil because it gives nice sharp lines, and I should mention my paper as well. This is the exact paper you can see me using in the books. Hot press watercolor paper. Hot press is the least absorbent, but it's the smoothest. And for these fun little characters that we're doing, we're not using really heavy water applications, so it's super great. So for these type of characters, the hot press paper really lends itself to the sort of look that I'm going for. So if you like the look, hot press paper is going to be where it's at. We are going to start for our grumpy Siamese. We are going to start, all right, so we're going to do a little, it's like a clam shape. Is that weird? Okay, so it's like this, and then it's like, actually, you know what, this looks like an eyeball. It really does. Okay, roop and room. So a curve on the top, and then almost like a V shape at the bottom. Okay, zoom in. Now, as step by step in the book, I usually do the main shapes first, okay? And then so the neck, we're gonna come down like this and like this. And usually in the book, I will put like a line there just because it helps you to visualize where you're done. Okay, we're done there. Okay, now we're gonna come down. Are you drawing with me? I hope you're drawing with me right now. And then this one is longer and sloped a little bit more. Okay. And then this is gonna go wee, like a long vase almost. These come down and they like taper down towards one another, towards some ending. And then at the bottom, we're just gonna put like a ball so we know that we've made it to the end. All right. So here's our first step. If this was in a book, this would be my first step. Okay, so step 2, I usually do figure 2. You usually see me do the ears next. So we're gonna put one big triangle on the left side and one triangle on the right. That one has a little bend in it, just for funsies. I'll worry about all my erasing afterwards, okay? And then for the figure 2, I'd probably put in the arms. So I'm just adding another line here, and then another line on this side. Okay, and then there's usually like a bump out on either side. Whoop, this comes up, and then it shoots down here. And the same thing here, this kind of comes up and down here. And then where we have these little balls of feet at the bottom, just do the same thing. This one I'll just do like a down curved line, and then flat at the bottom, down curved, flat at the bottom, down, flat. And then last but not least, we have our little tail. Okay, or whatever you want it to do. It could be crazy, whatever you want your tail to look like. Okay, and then figure 3, I usually will start in on the face. So this guy, he's super mad. So we're gonna have a slanted line this way. It's almost parallel with his cheek. And this one is slanted this way. Okay, you can already see he's mad. We don't even have to draw the whole thing. Okay, and then we put his little eyes here. They're just little half circles. And it's fun to draw more and more characters and then change these up every time a little bit differently, and then we'll have different looks. The pupil is like it's almost like a pokey, it's almost like a V shape. And then the nose is right in the middle, and that can just be a little tiny downturn thing. Almost like the letter M. See that little, oh, look how mad he is already. It's a little M. And then just a straight line down, and then he's gonna have a big brownie face. He's so mad. Oh, you can just hear him being so mad. All right, so that, you might recognize those steps from the books. Oh, I'm totally zooming in the wrong direction. And so that, all of this part, figure 1, 2, 3, would be done in pencil, okay? And then the next stage, which would be figure 4 in your book, this is the part where I would actually switch to a pen, okay? I have these fineliners, which you'll recognize. These are another set. I buy often of these because I use them so much. These are by Molicho, but there's a ton of alternate brands. If you just research on Amazon, say you're looking for a pigment fineliner. That word pigment is super important because it means it's permanent and it won't react when you add your watercolors. So I like Molicho, which is this brand, just so you know what it looks like. It's usually like a 0.7 is like a good midway one. So this is, I'm gonna have my steady hand. So I'm gonna trace over. Give him a little opportunity for some little hairs up at the top. Okay, so see how when you do this line, it's like very perfect. Oh, I just didn't trace very well. Zoop. And actually we can come into here and we can come into here. Okay. So this is usually my first step. Post pencil. Okay, now this one, obviously, we're not going to have that neck thing going there. Okay, so we're just going to follow the lines. And these pigment pens are also nice because they don't tend to smear either. They're like super reliable. Just bringing in my back legs a little bit. Oh yeah, we have our silly little feet. Still tracing over everything. You can change the tail up if you want. Okay, so that is where we finalize everything. And then I'm gonna come in and erase my pencil lines now. So I only use a vanish eraser. It's like the, I accidentally erased the pupils because I didn't put them in my fineliner. So the vanish eraser is the only eraser that I use. I have some tiny ones also that I love, which I will link to. It's like a little mono eraser, but I don't actually think I use them for any of these characters. But it erases really cleanly. It doesn't mess up my watercolor paper. It's awesome. All right. So now I need to go back and add the poor pupils because I blew them away with my eraser. So I'm just putting those pupils back in. All right. So now comes the fun part. Let's just watercolor them first and then we'll do the magic with all the different pens and things. Okay. So now we can get right into watercoloring. So for that, I have my woodland. I have fresh water. I need a brush. I use brushes by Paulina Bright. This is a 2. Okay. So I have a really straightforward process for watercoloring all of these. I don't use a paper plate or a palette or anything. What I do always keep nearby, though, are paper towels. And I keep them in a roll. And that's actually important because if it's just a single sheet, actually, and this is actually getting down, I might switch, except my next one on deck is this big fatty, and I don't think I have room for that on my table at the moment while I'm filming. But actually having a roll is key because you want a big cushion of paper towels to absorb the excess of your brush. And if you just have one layer, it's actually not enough. All right, we'll just go one at a time. I'm just gonna grab a slightly smaller brush. This is a, I don't know, 1 or a 0. All right, so let's see, I have my little swatch here. The whole body is sand. That looks very sandy to me, that top left. So I'm just gonna, I put my brush in the water. I'm gonna dip it in here. I'm gonna doink it off of my paper towel 1 time because I can see that it's just way too juicy as is. All right, and I'm gonna just smear this around his whole head. Okay, I'm gonna put it back. It's really juicy on there as well. So I'm gonna put it back in there. And I'm noticing, let's see, I think his whole body can just be pretty much just, look, I'm loose and messy, friends. Okay, so I needed more paint. So I brushed my brush in the water. I'm going to doink it off of my paper towels 1 more time, and I'm gonna go get some more. I just touched it a few times, and that is plenty dark. Okay. Touched it to get a little bit more, and we're done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, if while this is wet, ooh, I forgot, let's just do a swish in his ears. Say you were like, oh no, I didn't mean to paper towel. I didn't mean to color in like the top of his head. If your watercolors are still wet, you can take a paper towel and you can actually lift off a lot of that color. Now he was already starting to dry. It has to be wet. You can actually take a clean brush, get it back wet again, get it all nice and wet, and then sometimes you can actually lift it up. Okay, so watercolor gets a really bad rap for being super hard, but it's actually not. And you can actually fix a lot of your mistakes. So I'll get this all nice and wet again, and then pull some of that off. Now, it's a really light color to begin with, so it's not the best demonstration of that, but I've saved myself many times by being able to lift off the color if I didn't want it to be there. All right, now let's get some black going on. So that was that shadow color. So I'm looking at my swatch, right? I can see the second one, which is this one. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here. Again, I just went literally from my water to my palette. That's it, 1, 2, go. Now, it looks like all around eyes, right? Siamese they have a lot going on. I only knew one, and it was very noisy. And I love how talkative they are. So we're going around the eyes. I'm actually gonna connect these two eyes together by this black kind of band here. Go around here. Oh, no, I want to leave his, actually want to leave his nose free. What do? It's fresh, so I can actually pull up and erase that part on his nose. Okay, now what? This ear can be black too. I'm just going right into the paint and doing a swipe up the ear. Now he's going to end up being pretty scraggly, so you can be messy. That's the beauty of learning on these silly little animals. All right, I'm cleaning my brush off. If I wanted to ease this a little bit, say this was too much, again, you can just get it wet, lift, and then it's a lot less. Same thing over here, wet, lifts, and it's a lot less rather. I don't know why I keep saying weird, incorrect words. All right, so now we've got that. Now he's gonna have shading under the neck. This is gonna feel weird, but it adds a lot of dimension to your work. So even if you're not doing a human, my students would know, like, we always shade under the neck because the chin is always gonna be casting a shadow onto the neck, which is why the neck is always in shade. But the point is, even if you're doing a silly cartoon, there's places where you can actually add accurate shading and it'll give more dimension to your work. Even if it's just a silly cartoon, it's still worth it. All right, so I want a nice black for its little sleeves on its arms. So this is still wet, so I'm just gonna put my brush right on in it. And again, I'm just going straight from my palette. So all 4 feet are going to be black, and then Siamese arms are usually black 3/4 of the way up. So there's 3/4 of that one, and not as far. It's almost like they have back, like socks on their back legs, but full stockings on their arms. So just coloring them in straight up. And then a black tail. So again, it's still wet in there. It's gonna be nice and dark, which I want. We're gonna wiggle down that tail. And turn the corner as fast as we can. Okay, and these animals are so fun because you really can be quite messy, and it just makes them even somehow cuter than they already are. Like, how is that even possible? All right, he's looking nice and mad. Nice. Now I'm going to wash my brush. Okay, and this is important. We need to let his eyes, the black around them, dry, because if I go and put in the blue right now, they're gonna all mush together because it's still wet around there. So when I put in the directions in the book, let dry, make sure you really do let that layer dry so that you can go to the next layer. So I'm gonna take and actually just keep a little mini travel hairdryer plugged in all the time at my table. So I'm actually gonna take my hairdryer, I'm gonna dry him all off with my hairdryer. And then when he's all dry, I'm gonna come back and we'll keep going, okay? So you should do the same thing. Pause the video, go get a hairdryer, dry your painting, and meet me back here and we'll finish. All right, he's all dry. I just can put my hands on him and I can feel. So there's there's really good blue options on this one. I'm loving the mist right now, just for although that would be very stunning if they had the pond ones, but I feel like they are so known for their blueness. That's what I'm going for. So I'm taking my brush in my water, cleaning it off. I'm gonna tap it once on my paper towel, dab, okay? Now I'm gonna go grab the blue that I want, and I need my swatch because it's hard to see which one is which. I just put it in, I just swiped it a few times on into the color. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm ready to go. Okay, and then I just fill it in. Okay, if it's too dark, take your paper towel and lift. I just use my paper towels like that. I just keep them right in a roll and I just use the whole thing like a stamp. And it will lift your watercolors as you need it. Ta-da! Okay, so cool. That's all we need for that. Now, how about a cute nose? Ooh, I think that cavern would be a cute nose. Actually, any of these. The redwood would work, the foxberry, that would be cute. That's a little red color. So again, I just swipe it right from my palette and I put it right on his nose. Okay. Okay. So now this is where all those pens come in. Okay, so we have our different kinds. We need to decide what kind of character, what kind of personality is this guy gonna have? He looks kind of naughty. So I'm thinking loose and scribbly. So I'm gonna put my fine liners away because they were that really rigid style. And now we wanna get a little bit loose and a little bit crazy. So I have two gel pens. I have that big fat one, which is what I'm holding, and then I have a thinner one. I'm gonna go a little crazy, you guys, and I'm gonna use a bit of the fatty one, the fat one. And fun fact, when you see all my scans of my figures 1, 2, and 3 in the book, those are all done with this, just so you know. So you should be drawing those in pencil, and I say that right in the book, but I'm actually doing them with this, because when you scan them in, it looks really awesome. All right, so we want like this guy to be edgy and scribbly, because I think scribbly screams edgy. So between his eyes, he's like stressed because his eyes are really like furrowed together. So I'm gonna thicken up the top of his eyes, and these scribble marks make it look like he's pulling his face together right there. Okay, and then around here too, I'm gonna underline his eyes a bit. I've noticed in these little characters that we're doing, a lot of times they have multiple eyes going around, which again makes them look a little bit fierce. Now to make his ears look a little rough and tumble, okay, we can do some little scribbles in his ears. So I'm just gonna trace over the top, and then I'm gonna do a little scribble inside, and see how much looser it is now? Oh, it's good, I like it. So over here, maybe we can like, this looks really tight from those fine liners. So I'm actually just gonna scribble over them. I don't wanna get rid of how loose that looks. It's too loose. I'm sorry, too tight. And I want it to be really loose. Everything I'm saying today is coming out backwards, and I don't know why. All right, he looks way cute already, and we've only just done his face. Let's put a little boop, boop, boop. We can put some little whisker pads on him. Maybe we can even go over his frown with our big gel pen, because it really accentuates how pissed off he is. All right, same thing here. We're getting our doodle on, okay? So we're gonna do you're gonna scribble scrabble that shadow nice and dark, okay? So it's great because the fine liner gives us the structure, so we know we don't need to be scared, okay? We know where we really need to be, but then you can honestly scribble scrabble over it. So we can scribble in his arms. Okay, maybe we scribble in his armpit. Okay, around here. His belly is just open and scaring me, so I'm just putting some scribbles in there, honestly, just to fill in the empty space. And now here, maybe we can just change those lines so they're a little bit not as perfect. So I'm really just scribbling. Scribble. Okay, and then his little toes, his little toe beans. My kids always call our cats toes, toe beans. We can put the little 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can't really see them because they're so black, but we'll fix that in a minute when we go to our white gel pen. And then especially too, like here on the tail, we can add some scribbles there as well. So see how we just by scribble scrabbling have made him completely changed his like demeanor and everything. He's still a little structured up here. I almost like just add random scribbles. The cool thing about the gel pen too is that if you push down harder, it actually makes a darker line. If I want to push down light, or dark, and that's in the same pen. So that's pretty powerful too, just by changing your pressure. All right, look how cool it looks now. All right, I promised you we were gonna use all of the pens in one project, so I meant it. So we used this big one, check. We used a fineliner, check. So what's left? We have the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen is left. We have our, I'm looking for the black because that's the one I need. We have our micro brush pens. Oh, here we go. And we have a thin gel pen, which is this one. Okay, then I promise we're using them all. And we have this one to use. We have the white jelly roll too. Okay, so let's use them one by one, and that will show you where you can use them. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my Pentel actually. It's probably the scariest, so we're gonna get it over with. All right, this is the big daddy. This is the macro brush. Okay, so this is where you want to add a lot of emphasis and a lot of drama, and that it's quick. Perfect use for this would be push down. We can do that in like his ears. Okay, make that really black in here inside his ears and eyes. So I'm really actually pushing down pretty hard. Get this. Oh, he's so mad. He's so mean. Okay, so really outline those lines. Look at him now. He is madder than a hornet. We can even put some down here in his neck. So it's like anywhere we want to really clearly define. Oh, look, I chopped his eye right in half. That happens all the time. I make mistakes. You can ask my students all the freaking time. Just keep going. It's all good, my friend. Just carry on. There's nothing sad or crazy about it. Just keep going. It's just going to only add to his character. All right, so going down here. Now, I think even his like arms and legs could be more dramatically black, right? So I'm going to just paint those in with my black. So anywhere you want instant, true black drama, we can use our big Pentel brush for. You see how it's a little bit goes a super long way? That's right. Okay, so did that one, check. What's left? All right, we got our skinny gel pen black that we haven't used yet. This one is really good for hairs. So say I wanted to do more of this, more crazy lines, but again, like thinner ones, because we don't want to ruin it, but we want to do a little bit more dainty scribble scrabble. We could use this thinner one for sure and just augment all of our lines. But they're not as scary because it's only a 0.7 and not a 0.9. And they just glide like right off the paper. So you can add like, oh, little bits of hair, say that way, or little bits of hair, maybe little bits off the tail, and they're just so easy. Okay, so done. That's for like little individual hairs. And then the last one we haven't used is the micro sign brush. And this is a really awesome one for whiskers. Okay, so I like to start at one of the dots we had in his face. Okay, and then we can go way crazy. Now this one might be a little bit of a learning curve. You have to sometimes practice because to get it using just the tip can be a little challenging. But it's worth it. You can get really good whiskers. I do recommend going from the face out and not the other way. You have some short ones, some long ones, but that's super fun. Sometimes I like to make a ridiculously long one just for funsies, and like a crazy long one up here too, just for funsies. Okay, oh, he's looking super mad and so good. Now, what are the final touches? We haven't used our white yet, so we got to use our white. I always even try to make up excuses of where to use a white because it just makes such a big impact. So there's always the eyes. Okay, so I'm gonna just do one here. Now, sometimes this just isn't enough. I need more white, so I got my Copic white kind of on standby here. Because sometimes, like I said, it's not enough. I gotta fix this. Just make that even. Oh, he's so mad. I think I need more white. You can hear Maggie. Whoop. Okay, shoop. And then you can also put a white on his nose like that. Oh, yes. All right, where else can we put his white? Other places we can put our white is anywhere in a place that's actually really dark right now. So we could put some, it's almost like you're scribbling, ooh, like in the darkest areas, right? With our white. So you can scribble black on white, but you can also add white to black. And look how edgy and cool that looks. I'm just putting a little stripe. The other place where I think he really needs it is down by his feet. They're all running together. It's fun to, you could add some white, almost like it's just fur. So you could see, say that, or it could be like, oh, there's light reflecting off of some of the fur. And then you could even just do the little claws, because now you can see it. You're like, oh, I see there's little claws in there. And the same thing on the little tail. It's almost like the light is just catching it in a few places. It just helps you see it better. Oh my gosh, he is looking so mad and so good. And then the last thing I always have to do, like I can't sleep at night unless I do this, is I have to give them a ground to stand on. They need a ground, and I do it very simply. So I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to doink it once on my paper towel. Doink. Then I'm going to put it in this deep moss color. Okay, and then I always do a little squiggle right here. Okay, and then I'm going to pull it to the left and pull it to the right. Pull it to the left and pull it to the right. And that is all I do for the floor. I don't call it a floor. But it's like I feel bad if they're not, like, they have to be like sitting on something. Okay? You are, oh my gosh, you did so well. The last thing I'll do is, you can feel free to add more watercolors if you want. This is looking a little white down here. His belly should probably have a little color to it. You can actually go back, since everything I used is permanent, you can actually go in here and add more watercolor if you want to, and that would be fine. Just so you know what you can and cannot do. Except these are not permanent. Okay, so you just have to be careful when you're working with, if you have your sign pen anywhere and something is reacting where, oh yes, and this are as well. This one claims to be permanent, but sometimes it will react. These ones for sure are going to react. So just be careful. And if you forget or you're not sure, just make sure you do a test, and that will help you remember very quickly what is permanent and what is not. But I can come in here and very quickly be like, oh yes, because all of my marks, we use that micro sign pen, which is super, it's water reactive. So you just have to be careful where you are. But I just don't want you to be afraid of it, but just know if things start moving, just have your paper towels at the ready so you can be ready to do the smash, paper towel smash, and make sure he gets all cleaned up. All right, so that is my extensive and thorough review of how to use all the supplies in the animal portions, the animal books editions of the Whimsical Watercolor and How to Draw series. And you check out the separate link for the Little Women one because they're a little bit more involved, but all is doable. Thank you so much for drawing with me.